Last time on the WizardCast.
Mark, wake up! Wake up! Speak to me, Mark! For the love of God, open your eyes and say something!
Ryan, what are you doing here? What happened?
Oh, Brian, it's Mark. I found him unconscious, and his eyes just flew open all of a sudden.
That's a terrible joke, Brian. These are fake sponsors.
What?
I don't even. Your jokes are horrible, Brian. I'm taking over the jokes next week.
He's just saying the same lines he says in every WizardCast episode.
No. Those are clearly different.
That's a terrible joke, Brian. These are fake sponsors.
See? Totally different.
Brian, what's going on?
Look, I need a reliable co-host, and... Oh my god, what's that behind you?
What?
No one can ever know. No one can ever know.
And now the conclusion of the WizardCast.
I'm Brian Kwong.
And I'm Mark Ross.
We're Salesforce experts that love talking about technology and Salesforce.
We also love humor. Doesn't mean we're actually good at it.
In the Salesforce community, I'm known as the Salesforce Wizard, likely due to me wearing a wizard hat at Salesforce events.
And I'm known as Salesforce Yoda for pretty much the same reason.
You should see the ears.
We have a passion to help educate and entertain people.
So we've joined forces to create WizardCast.
We've got tips and best practices.
We talk with interesting people.
All mixed with quote-unquote jokes and humor.
Welcome
to
the
WizardCast.
WizardCast. Mark, did you know that drinking too much caffeine can cause memory loss?
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh. No, I didn't. Where did you hear that? I know it causes you to get the jitters. It could dry you out a bit.
Or worse, memory loss.
Right. Speaking of not being altogether with it.
Yeah, we want to thank everyone for their patience as they waited for a new episode of the WizardCast.
Quite seriously, thank you. Between Brian's family member needing some surgery.
And Mark being sick with the flu.
And Brian catching something and getting sick as well.
I mean, it's enough to just make you want to...
Talk about a gag.
Yeah, no, that was a terrible joke. Anyways, it's time to thank the sponsors that make this episode possible.
Okay, here we go.
Today's sponsor is Jennifer W. Lee, a fellow Flownatic, spreading the good news of the flow to everyone who will and will not listen.
Wait a second. That's not fake. Jennifer Lee is real and she's awesome.
Yeah, she absolutely is, and everyone should go read her blog and follow her on Twitter at JENWLEE.
Wait, she didn't actually give us money for that spot, did she?
No, she didn't. So it's still a fake sponsor, but she's still awesome.
But it's not a fake sponsor. She's a real person.
Yeah, but it's fake in the sense that she didn't give us money.
So
sponsors give you money. So she's a real person who didn't give us money.
A real fake sponsor?
She's a real fake sponsor.
Fake, real? No, yeah. Okay, that's different. I'm not sure how we feel about that. I'll come back to you on that one.
But, Jen, if you do want to throw some dollars our way,
Brian,
we wouldn't say... Yeah.
No, Brian.
No?
No.
All right. So anyways, let's go to the topic. So due to some illness and craziness, we didn't really have time to prepare much. So we're going to do a recap of all our Salesforce knowledge.
That's right. Right here. Right now, we're going to go through everything. Okay, so where do we begin? Flow. Flow's pretty cool.
Flow's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you got renewed as an MVP. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's news. Yeah.
Did
we talk about Flow yet?
Let me check. No, I think we did. That was the first thing we mentioned here. I'm checking this. Where's the script? There's nothing left to the script, Brian.
I just mentioned, the whole illness and craziness.
Right.
I didn't have time to write one. I mean, my son has been keeping me up late at night screaming as we try to do pain management for him.
Right.
I mean, I got maybe 2 hours a night for the last 12 days or so.
That's terrible. That's terrible. That sucks. But we don't have anything to...
Yeah, actually, the script actually ends right after that.
Yeah, no, I know. News, Salesforce news. What is there? What's happened? What's?
I think it's elementary, my dear Watson.
Really. But Watson is a thing. Yes, the whole whole IBM thing, the partnership that was announced by Benioff about the Watson technology actually working with the Einstein technology. Apparently they're feeding off of each other.
Yeah, I don't really quite understand it myself. I mean, if you kind of think about it, Watson is a fictional character, and Einstein was a real-life scientist. So you're bringing a scientist and fiction together. Ooh, maybe we're going to get some science fiction from Salesforce.
Ooh, and maybe they'll team up with another company that also has some sort of fictional, I don't know, give me something. Like
HAL?
HAL? Yes, maybe they will team up with whatever company did HAL, and then it'll be a science fiction double feature.
You know what? I just realized if you moved one letter of the alphabet of HAL, you get IBM. It's happening.
This is what happens when we don't have a topic, folks. Okay, so we got something here. We got something. The thing about Watson is that it is AI, right? The thing about Einstein is that it's AI.
Well, it's machine learning AI.
True. But we're now getting into things that, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have thought would have been possible in such a short time frame, right? The idea of the future of technology is so malleable and so changing that perhaps it's a good topic. Here we go. Perhaps it's a good topic to talk about where Salesforce is going in the future.
Sure.
I was going to add that in post, but now I don't have to. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Probably would sound better if you do it in post, though.
Yeah, but I'm lazy and now I don't have to, so I'm sticking with it.
Yeah,
anyway,
all right.
So we've got other. So AI is obviously the thing. Where do we see AI possibly going with Salesforce?
I think it's going to be a larger thing. I mean, all the AIs that are all about basically looking for patterns within data and using that data to make decisions. So like the stuff that we've seen so far from Einstein are things like, based on the lead and opportunity data in your system, they're going to be able to crunch their whole bunch of data and be able to tell you what is the likelihood of a lead actually going to be turning into a sale right away before you even call up the person, on the basis that you have the right information in Salesforce for that system to make a determination.
Sure, but that's what's happening now. I mean,
that's what's happening now.
That's the lead scoring.
But I mean, if you take the next logical step to that, if you're talking about data manipulation, it could go through things and doing automation. So instead of like the data.com stuff that we have now, where you basically are doing a manual search one record at a time, trying to match or pulling in a whole bunch of data all at once into your system, you could probably use the AI to be able to say, hey, you stated that this person works at so-and-so. I'm just not even going to tell you. I'm just going to go pull the information that we know for this person and update the record. Or I could also see them doing other types of automation based on the data that's in the system. It's just a question of the fact of what are the types of things that people are going to be able to learn from.
So I mean, that's pretty interesting. Like the idea of maybe doing automatic associations, setting up relationships with objects automatically based on patterns it's seeing.
Finding your administrator a date on a Friday night.
That would be the AI for Match.com. Yes.
No.
Yes, exactly.
You said relationships, so I just figured that's where you were going.
You know what I mean, Brian. And auto-establishing those relationships. So that's something. I mean, I don't actually foresee a whole lot of configuration or even automation happening. Like, there has to be a limit on it. Just because,
I don't know. I mean, you could do something as simple as saying, "Here's my CSV of all my data. Go out and based on my CSV, go configure the best system for Salesforce."
Yeah,
right.
That's theoretically possible based on looking at the data that's present. So it could look at headers and interpret like that's phone. Okay, well here's mobile phone. Okay, where I've got address lines, but this particular CSV has the house number and the street name and two different things. I can recognize that because I understand what a house number and a street name is, and I can parse them. Yeah, I mean things like that. That's certainly possible. Or
doing something even more stuff to say, here's my 5 CSV information, not even telling them what they represent. having the machine be able to identify what the type of data is based on what's actually in the CSV, match it with existing cloud data that's out there, like the data.com and so forth, and then actually going out and saying, hey, I'm going to actually build the fields that you need to build the relationships between the objects that you need to have, and then I'm going to go and push the data where it needs to be.
Or at the very least, ask. Like, try to make all these assumptions and then present findings. Because the thing is, I think what you're suggesting would be frightening to a lot of people. And by people, I mean not just admins, but executives as well. But the prospect of actually, like, and this is getting into a new field of AI that we're not really in yet. Like, we're kind of in, but we're not quite there yet. And that's the idea of an interactive AI, one that actually asks you questions based on the things that you've told it.
I think you're talking about an interactive AI, but an interactive predictive AI.
Yes.
So
yes.
the thing that's kind of like it's happening now in other places where people are actually able to say, I think this person's going to want something based on their past behavior, and I'm going to do it for them before they even ask me to do it. I was reading an article about Amazon's like same day delivery, where they're using the data of their customers and where they're located to say, hey, these people have a tendency to order these types of items. So in the local warehouse, we're going to keep on stock those type of items so we could actually deliver same day all the way across the country. It's just going to be a matter of figuring out where to place your warehouse. And that's exactly what you see Amazon doing. I mean, Amazon's, I don't think it's built yet, but they're planning on building a warehouse not too far away from where I live. And the only reason to do that is to make the products closer to the locations of your actual people so you don't have to deal with delivery delay. Exactly.
We just opened a big warehouse here, literally only a few miles away. So, yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
So, think of all the types of interactions that we do with our CRM and how we use our CRM. It could be something as simple as if you're doing a customer service, identifying the fact that, hey, there's something that may be happening and creating the cases for you and sending the initial contact out to your customer before you even need to prompt it to do something. Right. Is this going to be scary and is this going to be worrisome to a lot of people? Absolutely. But I think the way that we're seeing in general for technology is that the technology is going to be replacing a lot of what humans have been doing, and that always makes people nervous.
It does. It does. We've had that conversation before with friend of the show, Peter Coffey.
Hi, Peter.
But there is always room for people in technology. There's always ways to make it work, and people just have to essentially be willing to work with it and be willing to train up to it.
Well, not only that, but as a society, we have to decide that that's the type of way that we want to use technology. And just because it works with people doesn't mean it's going to work with the same number of people. It's the same thing with the robotics on a manufacturing line. Instead of having to have, 20 people working the manufacturing line, now you're down to one person who's just supervising the robots who replace the line workers.
Yeah.
There's still a person involved, so that's something for us to consider. Is this going to be happening with Salesforce? I think we're talking years out in the future before we really get that far.
Right.
I think what we're going to see more is more predictive analysis based on what's in people's data. Now, the tricky thing is I don't think this is going to necessarily benefit everyone, organizationally wise, equally, because with machine learning, the one thing that you really need is data, and you need a lot of data to be accurate or even close.
And if you don't have a lot, like if you're a small business,
it's not going to work.
No.
So I think some of the numbers I was hearing about Einstein at Dreamforce was like for the lead production thing, you needed something like 10,000 leads in the system.
That's the number they're quoting now, I believe.
And I can't remember how many of those had to have been qualified and led to a one opportunity. So if you're starting out as a brand new sales org and you don't have that information, predictive analysis isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Right. Well, any AI is not going to really work unless you are following some standard predictive patterns. Like if they were able to identify to say, hey, everyone who is at a particular size of the organization has the department and the phone number filled in and this job title or something has a higher likelihood of purchasing just in general overall, then that may help you, but it's going to be less accurate than actual machine learning on your specific data.
Right. Exactly. Other things, talking about Einstein in particular, this is kind of a future prediction for Salesforce. Einstein, I don't actually foresee that lasting as a paid product indefinitely. As technology continues to move onward and as other systems begin to use predictive technology, I kind of see Einstein becoming part of core.
Well, we've kind of seen that with the other things that Salesforce has done. I mean, think of knowledge, right? Knowledge used to cost a license not just to see the articles, but also to publish and modify them.
Flow used to cost.
Yeah.
When it was first out as an EXE downloadable, you had to download to do it. Yeah.
The good old days. But
the battle days.
Like knowledge, everything is free to read, and you just need the license to actually create the article. So there are things that Salesforce just naturally kind of progresses to start, in my opinion, sometimes insanely expensive, and the price slowly comes down to the point that it's almost entirely inclusive within the platform.
Mm-hmm.
A part of me actually wonders if that's more of a clever policy on Salesforce's side, because you raise the price really high so you can get the people who probably have a lot of the information, a lot of the data to want to actually try and use it, but you keep the overall customer load down, and you can work out the bugs and do the finishing while still getting some revenue for your product. And then once you basically prove the product, it's more platform mainstream.
Right. Yeah. Another wild prediction that I have just in general, and maybe it's a prediction, maybe it's something I'd like to see, but I kind of feel that it's the further step of democratization of declarative development. And that is, I don't know if there's a term for it, like an official term. Essentially, it's linguistic syntactical development. And what that means is developing by using language.
I can see that now. That happens now.
So
you say, okay, presto, : do this, less than sign, apex, :
yeah, that's not what I mean.
Page section,
not drag and dictate. Okay.
Space fat.
No. I'm talking, and perhaps voice is probably the best way to do it, but theoretically could also be typed in. But the ability to go into Salesforce and say, okay, make me a custom object named widgets that needs to be reportable and has two custom fields. One of them is an address field, and the other is a text field called Dave. Like, just that ability to essentially kind of rattle off a list of instructions, and then Salesforce is like, okay, and does it. Based on
that happens now.
No, what?
Absolutely, it happens now. Someone types it in, hits the send button. It comes into the office of we have as a consultant, and then the consultant builds it in Salesforce. All you're talking about is removing the middleman.
Oh dear God, I didn't think about it like that.
You are making the recommendation to Salesforce to get us out of a job.
Damn it. Well, no, because we are the subject matter experts. Yes, the consultants are the ones who are telling you whether or not it's a good idea to do what you just asked us to do.
Idea. Everything's a good idea. You should do everything in Salesforce. And then when you realize that's a terrible idea, then call us.
Oh, man. Here's our second fake sponsor for the evening.
You notice I had not mentioned company names.
Oh, no.
I'm better than that.
What about beyond the standard Salesforce, what we know about? What about more general computer technology, like the HoloLens? Is that something? How does something like the HoloLens or AR interfaces?
I think those things they're probably going to happen, but they're likely not going to happen in the way people think they're going to happen.
Okay.
So I can see doing things like replacing hardware with virtualization. Like there's a really nifty video out there that shows a piece of hardware that basically shines down on a desk, and that is the equivalent of the keyboard and mouse.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's really nothing but light there that's being used. I don't see VR really replacing much of anything from a CRM standpoint. and two, you're able to do really good visual virtualization of data. And that's tough to do in a manner that's easily usable. I mean, the closest example of that was, this was a few years ago. So someone used Minecraft to build a visualization of opportunity data. So you could be in Minecraft and go through and say, hey, I'm going to flip the switch. And that was the equivalent of changing the stage in Salesforce. And Minecraft actually would send a call out to Salesforce and update the record.
And it was horribly inefficient.
You know, if you're thinking about VR kind of technology, I could see it.
I said AR. So, I mean, are you familiar with the HoloLens?
I've heard the term. I'm blanking on what it is.
I'll send you a video afterwards, and maybe we'll post it in the show notes as well. But
sure, give me more work.
But it's augmented reality. The HoloLens goes as over your vision,
like the Google Glass type
yes,
thing.
Except it can overlay anything, because it's not just one part of one eye; it's both eyes. But it's clear. It's a clear lens, and things just superimpose on top of your vision. So you can theoretically have, and I don't necessarily see this as something that's Salesforce specific, but I can see in 20 years every office, every desktop computer having some sort of AR sort of interface that just accompanies it in your cubicle, because then you can have multiple screens. Exactly, replaces the monitor, and in fact gives you the opportunity to have multiple monitors.
I mean, it doesn't sound too far away from like the Brain Pal that's in John Scalese's Old Man War novel series, right? It's about putting the computer in your brain.
Well, and this is in front of your eyes rather than in your brain, but that's
right. But
if you want to talk a couple hundred years in the future, let's go Brain Pal, where it's actually like analyzing your thought patterns and using predictive analysis to actually check out how your brain
but
waves.
I mean, if you're talking about something in front of your eyes, I mean, think of how much we consume with our eyes and our ears. I mean, it's just a matter of sensory input. It's just a question of where it's coming from. You know, I could see that for people out who are in the field for informational uses, like people who are doing repairs and tech work. From a salesperson standpoint, other than not having to have a monitor per se, I could see as a way to, primarily replacing the monitor. I'm not sure how much an overlay is going to do for you, other than maybe when you're sitting face to face with someone and having to pull up the information about the person that you have there or the sale that's involved, and
more of a productivity
giving you quick
booster.
access. Yeah, I mean, it
enables.
Think of the type of information that you're grabbing. Well,
you can literally grab the information.
Taking the information that's on your phone and just plopping it right in front of your face without everyone going, "Oh, I wonder is he looking at Facebook?"
Well, but it also does enable other paradigms, theoretically. I mean, I'm not saying that we're necessarily going to want to, close an opportunity by grabbing the screen and rolling up into a ball and throwing it into an imaginary hoop. But that's not efficient. But maybe gestures like that do. Yeah, like think.
I'm going to swipe right on my opportunity.
Something like that. Yeah. And there are more intuitive gestures. There are different types of productivity enhancements that can be done with such things. I'm thinking very broadly, but I see a lot of possibilities. And if it hasn't become completely obvious to you, Brian and I are huge sci-fi nerds. So yeah, that's informing a lot of this conversation. Clearly,
I just want my holodeck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you had a holodeck, then you could work out on your back porch.
I can work on my back porch now, except for I wouldn't because it's 14 degrees outside.
And that's my point. You could do it 70 degrees.
Or I could just put a lot of heaters out there. But it's also dark out.
Well, I don't mean right now.
Yeah, but I don't have a holodeck right now. I'm saying I don't need a holodeck to do something like work from my back porch.
So I think we've exhausted not only this
That would be
topic,
Oceanside, right?
but probably also Brian and his brain. So maybe we should wrap things up, Brian. Maybe.
I'm past exhaustion.
If you have any sort of ideas, how do you people in the audience, you people, you lovely people.
We're looking at you.
Yes.
The one with the earbuds in.
Yeah, you.
And now I'm also talking about you, the person with you're driving the car. By the way, 10 and 2, buddy. 10 and 2.
Feel free to send them to us, and I don't know. We're not going to talk about this topic again. Maybe we'll have Twitter conversations.
I don't know. We probably talk about this topic again the next time we run out of ideas because we're both too busy to think of anything.
Maybe we'll bring them to Peter Coffee.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If only there was an event coming up in August where we might be able to see him.
He would totally geek out on this conversation. You realize that, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, send us the questions and then maybe we'll put something together and see if we can have another sit down with Peter Coffey because I know we're going to see him in Chicago in August, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going there?
So, probably.
We might as well do our plug. So if you have not registered yet, check out MidwestDreaming.com. This is one of the big super user group get-togethers in Chicago. I believe it's on August 10th and 11th. And last year, I think they had something like 900 people show up. And it was on the Navy Pier. This year, they've outgrown the Navy Pier, and they're going to be one of the local hotels still in Chicago, not too far away from the Navy Pier. So go there. I know they were having a registration special for $75 for the first 75 people, and the last I heard, there's only a couple spots left.
Oh, man.
So if they're still available, now's the time to register and get a quick snap, because it is, if I had to choose between Midwest Dreaming and, say, World Tour or some other Salesforce event that's not Dreamforce, I would choose Midwest Dreaming.
Yep. That's Mid with a West and D with a Riemann.
I'm so tired. WizardCast is produced by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross,
come on,
directed by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross.
Come on, Brian.
Technical administration by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross. Script writing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross. Audio editing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross. Website maintenance by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross.
Wake up, Brian.
And our intern this episode is Ryan Baker.
Send us your interview suggestions, jokes, videos, tips, and feedback to WizardCast at thewizardnews.com or head over to thewizardnews.com and click Contact WizardCast.
And if you haven't subscribed, well, I'm sure you've already subscribed, you should totally subscribe because we do this magical auto thing with WizardCast the next episodes. So do that.
And please post reviews on iTunes. Share this episode. It helps us out.
Once again, I'm Mark.
And I'm Brian Blessed.
Who's Brian Blessed?
Oh, man. Brian, we have to educate you.
Thanks for listening. I'm running on a couple hours of sleep a night for the last 10 days.
Pep.
Yeah, I'll give you more pep right here. Today's sponsor is Jennifer W. Lee, a fellow Flowmatic.
Back it down. Back it down. What do you think this is, a Disney afternoon special? Come now, Brian.
Why, I just don't know, Mickey.